Ladies and germs, thanks again for joining me for yet another collection update. We've got a whole shit ton of albums to go through, about 25 in all. Wasn't it only about a week ago since I did a collection update? And boom, I have another fucking 25 albums to talk about. I don't know what my problem is. And the weird thing is, last week I bought a new car. The most expensive thing I've ever purchased in my life. A car was bought. Things are going pretty good, but I did spend 7 hours in oral surgery today, so I'm a little fucked up, a little sore, a little weary. So if I start drooling, I apologize in advance. I'm gonna stop babbling for now, but the music that you are sure to enjoy in the background of my luscious talking is Nort's Graven album. Yeah, don't know what year this came out. I don't know, 2004, 5, something like that. Killer, Funeral Doom, kind of with a little blackened twist to it. Out of Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. Another thing is my hearing is kind of plugged up because of the fucking cold that I had last week. So my hearing is a little weird, causing me to mumble a little bit. Kind of a fucking mess. But I've got a ton of killer jams to listen to lighten my mood. So, got a big box in from my buddy Marty Worm at Bindrune. A couple other stuff from here and there. Why don't I start with the LPs, since all you vinyl heads are absolutely bonkers about the records. First, we have Deathhammer, Evil Power. I was doing some shopping on the Hell's Headbangers website, and I remembered that I have been meaning to pick up a copy of this for a couple of years because it fucking slays, if you're not aware. And to my surprise, this copy was something like $7.75 or something like that, so of course I bought it. Killer Norwegian thrash. I already showed you the cover here. Little insert, lyrics, colored vinyl. Fuck yeah. In the vein of Necromantheon, there's really nothing original going on, just killer thrash metal. You're not going to find a lot of original acts on Hell's Headbangers, by the way. From Bindrune, I got Sipho, Markerna Bortum. This is Nordvis production. Bindrune didn't put this out, but has copies of it for sale. This is Andreas, who I had the pleasure of hanging out with back in April. This is his solo project. He was in London. He was in Armageddon. A couple other cool-ass projects. Whirling was one of them. Got this beautiful insert. So this is his new record. Oh, I didn't realize this folded out. Actually haven't had a lot of time to look at these releases since the car buying madness has happened. Black vinyl, so I won't bother showing you that. Anyways, very, very intriguing, interesting, challenging record with a lot of non-black metal music contained therein. I always say that it seems like Andreas constantly runs away from himself, and in London's material was kind of I would say this is most similar to early London. However, London quickly evolved into kind of a neo-folk kind of project, and then when that ended, Sipho started up, and the early Sipho stuff, like the split 10-inch with Drift, some great straightforward black metal stuff, and also I think there was a 7-inch, I think, that had Sipho on both sides, and that stuff was also great and straightforward. So I kind of expected that style of material on this full length. But he has changed styles quite a bit again and come up with this. So you never know what Andreas is going to be up to with his albums, but it's always very fascinating. Also, this is Andreas from Stilla, if you're not familiar. Stilla is fucking amazing too. So check this out. This is a really great album. If you're looking for something challenging, interesting, intellectual, original, and just brilliantly composed. Next is, speaking of brilliantly composed, this is the new album from Grist. a band that seems to be catching a lot of steam over in Europe. So you should pick up a copy of this before they sell out from Bind Ruin. A lot of stuff in here. I'm just going to pull it all out here. Black 12-inch. Comes in this nice, beautiful jacket. Seems like all of Grist's releases come in this gray sort of matte finish aesthetic. Got a nice poster of a drawing. I'm going to guess that's by Solfial Design. I haven't checked to make sure. But that's the... she does stuff for Hammerheart Records and stuff like that. Got a nice little booklet with lots of interesting photography going on there. I have had a chance to listen to this once, and it's nothing you wouldn't expect out of Grist if you are already familiar with Grist. The last album, Sinair, I think it's pronounced, was totally brilliant. Really interesting act to follow. There's a lot of interesting instrumentation going on, a lot of, I guess you could say, kind of folk elements going on, but not really doing it in a boring or ho-hum sort of way. It's a really, really passionate and original sort of band. Next we have Nephrons. I've talked about this project quite a bit on my channel, and now the album is finally on LP. This is In the Hours Beneath, right? Yeah, In the Hours Beneath. This is a solo project, formerly of Montana, now of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Not a whole lot going on here inside. We just got a band photo there. Lyric sheet. Comes on 2 vinyl variants. This is the gray and black splatter. There's another variant that I think is something like a smoke mixed with clear splatters. Had a couple people saying that they weren't too happy with the way that splatter turned out. Other people were saying that it's better than they had expected it to turn out. Either way, that's all tiny ass semantics. This album is fucking phenomenal, epic as you can fucking imagine. This project is one of the more exciting things I've heard in the last couple of years, and it's right at home on Bind Ruin. I just think that's really cool that he's now working with Bind Ruin and Norvis. Also got it on CD. Thank you, Marty. CD version has a bonus track on it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So the bonus track is not on the LP. So if you want to go balls deep with the Nephrons, get the CD as well. There's also a beautiful shirt. Also picked up the A5 Digipack version of the Grist album with the booklet, same as the LP. I want to say it's the same booklet in there. Love that. And I don't know. Let's just go top to bottom here. This is the reason I picked up. I ordered from Hell's Headbangers. Now, I know this band is controversial. I don't really know where they stand politically. I don't know where I stand with them politically, but I've been curious enough to check out this new record because their last album, Riddle of Steel, was amazing. I'm not going to lie. But this album, so far, upon maybe half a spin, is not even close to as good as Riddle of Steel. I just don't know if I'm not in the mood for it or what. But this Digipack is pretty killer. Tons of band photos. Just seems like the music, the basic music going on here, the guitars and the drums are really, really simple and boring and uninspired. And there's just a ton of fruity flutes and violins and all other kinds of instrumentation going over the top of that. But at the very core of it, to me, at least in the mood I've been while I listened to half of it so far, it really bored me. So there's that. So next, let's see. I've been listening to a project from the former main guy from Reverend Bizarre. His solo project is called Kimmy Corky. Probably mispronouncing that. And it's really brilliant. It's acoustic kind of stuff, kind of neoclassical, neo-folk, neoclassical kind of stuff. His new album, the name escapes me right now. has a song on it with the singer from 40 Watt Sun, Patrick Walker, singing on it. And that song is absolutely mesmerizing, breathtaking, and one of the most beautiful things I've heard in the last few years. And I just got to looking into more of this guy. Realized that Reverend Bizarre is a band I've just kind of always looked over and didn't really know where to start in their discography. They had 3 records and a lot of EPs. So I wasn't sure which album to start on. And then I found this EP called Harbinger of Metal. This is a 74 minute long EP. So I decided to start here, mainly because there is a cover of Burzum's Dunkelheit on here, and I had heard that, and that's just one of those MP3s that I'd always kept on my hard drive because it's so fucking good to hear that black metal song stripped down, slowed down, and played at the pace that Reverend Bizarre does. The way from a distance, I gathered that Reverend Bizarre kind of has a strange sort of sense of humor going on with all of their releases. So this was kind of a surprise in the middle of this booklet. Anyway, so I haven't given this a spin yet. It just came in today. Looking forward to jamming on that and kind of getting my feet wet with Reverend Bizarre. Seems like a lot of people are pretty crazy about them, and I just kind of always sounds overrated, not my thing, whatever. Maybe now's the time. Next on CD, I decided I've been kind of in like a third tier, second wave black metal phase in a way. I'm actually kind of thinking about working on a video about this topic, but I realized that I didn't have Alone Walking from Hades. This is just a 3-track demo EP that they put out back in, let me get my notes here. I have notes this time. Back in 1993. Now this is a reissue from this year. Hammerheart Records did a pretty good job on this as far as I'm concerned. Just didn't really revise the original release from what I can tell. Just put it in a nice digipack so you can differentiate the 2 releases nicely. I really like the way this is done. So kudos to Hammerheart for putting this out. What I didn't realize though is that these songs are also to be found on their Again Shall Be debut full length. So this is kind of a useless version of that to have, but that's never stopped me from buying a fucking CD, has it? So next along that line is Dismal Euphony, Soria Maria Slot. Now I've always had their Autumn Tears album, and I want to say I may have even had this on CD way back in the day for a minute and maybe got rid of it. I guess I'll never know, but I decided for some reason in the wee hours of the other night, gotta go through the band photos on this one, they're pretty fucking funny. Decided that I was listening to this and I just had to get a copy of it. I found it for pretty cheap from some seller in who knows where. But yeah, third rate, second wave, third wave, whatever. Norwegian black metal, really, really, really heavy on the synths and flutes and female vocals. So if you can't stomach Cradle of Filth, this would make you fucking vomit all over your shoes and walk through dog shit to get it off. That's how much you would not like this if Cradle of Filth is not up your alley whatsoever. So I listened to this today on my way to the dentist, and I guess I never realized how low in the mix the guitars are. And maybe it's a good thing because the guitar riffs are pretty blah, just kind of watery sort of black metal riffs. It's not very intense ever. There's a couple of blast beats throughout this full length, I would say. But most of it is pretty kind of limp-wristed, unmemorable, mediocre kind of stuff. Again, I've been really moody lately, so maybe I'm just listening to it at the wrong time. But whatever. I listened to it the other night, and I was just charmed enough to pick it up for a couple of bucks. And it's a Napalm release, so there's something to be said for that. Anyways, this fucking... I just played this before I did this video, and it slayed me. It's the first time I've listened to this in a really long time. This is In Thy Dreams with Stream of Dispraised Souls. I became aware of this band maybe 10 or 15 years ago when I was in a pawn shop looking through the CDs, and all of a sudden I noticed a shit ton of like this kind of stuff. Swedish metal from the early 2000s, late 90s or so, all of them for like $3 a piece, and I didn't know any of them hardly. So I wound up spending like $90 on a stack of CDs, as long as a really long thing. And that was the full length that came after this. I can't think of what it's called. Anyways, this came out in 97. This is kind of a quick EP, maybe a 25-minute long 5-track EP. But fuck, they pack in a shit ton of riffs in this thing. Highly recommend you check this out. This came out on Wrong Again Records in 97, like I said. The reason I was looking this up in the first place is the other day I was talking to Wyatt X Him, everyone's favorite YouTuber who stutters and mispronounces. And he had talked about some Swedish melodic death metal. And I felt like throwing him a couple of suggestions, and this was one of them that I suggested. Remembered I don't have a copy of this, wondered how much it costs on Discogs, and that's really the end of the story. Just fucking killer. This gives At the Gates of the Slaughter of the Soul a complete run for its fucking money. This jams way more harmony and less stupid hardcore influence, less Slayer riffs. This is just fucking crazy balls to the wall Swedish blackened death metal, I would say. Members went on to do Carnal Forge as well as Womb Bath. Band. I'm not really familiar at all with Carnal Forge as far as I know. And Womb Bath, I think I've heard their debut a couple times or so. Don't have a copy of it, but I've heard good things. Next, we got to keep on rolling here. This is Death Trip's Deep Drone Master. This started out, as far as I know, I might be wrong here, as a solo project of Aldrun from Dotheimsgard. I'm a really big fan of his vocals, and I've been following this project for quite a while. So this is the debut full-length that came out on Svart Records. Another thing worth mentioning is that the Kimmy Corky, the solo project of the Reverend Bizarre guy, came out on Svart Records. And it made me realize the other day that Svart Records is doing a really great job putting out a lot of killer stuff. And I never really went to the effort of looking into what else they had available on their label. So I went to look and found a bunch of cool stuff I'm really interested in checking out. And seeing what else they have to offer. There's a totally wide variety of acts on that label. Anyways, Deep Drone Master, really, really hard to fucking pin down. It sounds intentionally amateurish in the way that it kind of uses a drum machine, but you wouldn't think that the fucking singer from Dotheimsgard would have a hard time finding anyone to play drums on his EP. And so that speaks to the style of the music. It's very stripped down. It's really doesn't want to be polished. It doesn't want to sound professional really all that much. Lyrically, it's fascinating. I've always enjoyed Aldrin's lyrics. As far as a booklet, this is pretty boring, and I think this album cover is kind of eh. So I would almost say just download this thing, because it's kind of pointless having this, but whatever. It's when you're in the mood for this kind of thing, it really hits the spot. But I can't imagine a lot of you guys would be crazy about this thing if you just checked it out. For advanced listeners only. Next is a solo project from the drummer of Odal. This is Germany's Wolfe Vuitton, and their debut full-length Entrückung. German, so I don't really speak German at all. Beautiful digipack, beautiful photos. I picked up their second full-length, not going to pretend that I know what that's called. But so this came out in 2006, and the second album came out in 2012. And this album is quite a bit better than that other one. So check this out. If you've heard Odal at all, there's no reason you won't love this. It's got a lot in common with Odal, but killer German black metal, got a nice pagan sort of folky Viking sort of sound to it, and really incredible that it's a solo project. Really love this packaging, even though it's so subtle it just barely even shows up. Probably not even going to see that very well. Pick that up. It usually goes for about 25 to 30 euro on Discogs, and for some reason the other day someone sold it to me for like 10, I want to say. So, fuck yeah. Also, the other day I was looking in my catalog or my Discogs in my collection and realized that I don't have a copy of Thy Mighty Contract by Rotting Christ. The reason I didn't have a copy of it is because I sold it many years ago. And I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I have always just kind of dabbled in Rotting Christ. I never would have said that I'm a huge fan of Rotting Christ, really. Just kind of one of those bands I pick up their albums when I see them used or whatever. But I thought it was kind of criminal that I didn't have Thy Mighty Contract in my collection the other day. So Hell's Headbangers had a version of this. Or maybe it was Dark Descent. I'm not sure. But so I owned this on CD maybe 10, 15 years ago or so. It was a Century Media reissue, and for some reason I didn't like it. It just sounded old. It sounded dumb to me. And the drum machine on it really bothered me back then, so I hawked it for a couple of bucks. Still don't know what is with the drum machine on this album. It's such a bizarre sort of crutch that it unfortunately has been befallen by. But the riffs. This band is all about the riffs, let's just be honest. Amazing Greek black metal. And I'm happy to have a copy of it with the original cover because I'm sick of this fucking revisionist re-releasing stuff. This has some nice band photos in there and a couple of quotes from other black metal musicians talking about the importance of Rotting Christ. I think that's kind of cool. And also 2 bonus tracks, Visions of the Dead Lover and The Mystical Meeting. I'm not sure what those are from or would be from. Like I said, I'm not all that familiar with their discography. I also have Passage to Arcturo and Triarchy of Lost Luggage, I want to say. I might have another one. I think I do have another one, but it's not like I listen to it all the time. Next, we've got... So, also, in my Bind Room box, Marty sent me a bunch of freebies. So, this is going to be a bunch of stuff that I didn't choose. It was kind of a surprise. So... Marty, why do you even have this? So this is a band, if you're not familiar, formed, I guess, by Killjoy of Necrophagia. This came out on Baphomet Records back in 2001. And I thought I had gotten rid of every album that I had that had a picture of a bloody nun on the cover of it. I'm probably wrong, but I mean... Let's just be honest. I don't think I've ever heard this, but it has the singer from... It has Maniac from Mayhem on it. It has Iscaria from Immortal. Just a really weird hodgepodge lineup on it. Even has the drummer from Perished on it. Perished is a killer band. Next, another thing he gave me was... Path of the Weakening by Deeds of Flesh. Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about these guys and listening to them on and off, and I picked up their debut a couple weeks ago. Wasn't really a fan of that Trading Pieces EP, but this fucking slays. I put this on because Eric Bauer had been talking about it in a video a couple of videos ago, and yeah, really fucking great. So another thing Marty sent me was Keep of Colescent's Colossus, an album that I hoped I would never have a copy of because this era of Keep of Colescent kind of sucks. Maybe it's time to give it a second shot now that I have a copy of it, but we'll see. Comes with a live DVD. I think there's also like a making of the album going on here. Anyways, love their first 2 and the EP that has Attila on vocals. I remember listening to this stuff when it came out and thinking, God, what the fuck happened to these guys? So, Marty also sent me the follow-up to that album, Reptilian. I don't know if I've ever heard this. I assume it's probably pretty boring and stupid. But yeah, I'm going to give it a listen, see what happens there. Another album Marty sent me was Animatronic by Covenant. These guys started out pretty good back in 93 or so. Went to shit pretty quickly with Necklace Polaris. I don't know. I might have had a copy of this at some point. Probably got rid of it because I just couldn't bear to have stuff like this in my house. So I got it again. Also, if you're not aware, I really don't like that guy's drumming at all. I really think he's one of the most overrated drummers in all of metal. And yeah, hate his playing so much. What a terrible drummer. Kind of like what he did on Arcturus's La Masquerade, but we could talk about that all day. Another album I got from Marty at Binderin was Stilla's debut, which I haven't heard. Till Silla Fiella, still sealed, so obviously I haven't listened to it yet. I've heard great things about this, and Stilla, man, what an amazing, interesting act. Another thing Marty sent me was Tangorodrim with Justice Ex Fide Divit. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Jeremy. I don't know the first thing about this band. I want to say I listened to a really early demo of these guys long time ago, and somehow they managed to get signed to Southern Lord, so they put this out. Yeah, I don't know anything about this band. Also, don't know anything about this band, Somrak, The Abhorred Blessings, came out on Decadence through Ruination Records. Looks really boring. I read a review of it that confirmed what I thought. So let's not end on that terrible note. Marty also sent me this, Inquisition's latest, Bloodshed Across the Empyrean Altar Beyond the Celestial Zenith. When I first heard the single, Wings of Anu, from this album, I said, Inquisition is fucking dead to me. But I decided, you know what? I always say that about Inquisition's new albums when they come out. I hate them, and then I listen to them, and I'm like, what was I thinking? That isn't so bad. So this version comes with a flag of the album cover. Don't know if I'll put this up or not, but it's pretty killer. Doing a lot of rearranging down here lately, and I guess it's better than a blank wall. Anyways, the album, I did listen to it, and yeah, same thing happened. I don't know what I was thinking of hating on this new Inquisition. It's pretty good, but I do understand why someone would just think Inquisition is pretty stupid. Musically, obviously, it is very simplistic and just beating a dead horse. They have not reinvented the wheel and beat the same dead horse for well over 20 years. You like it or you hate it. Managed to catch them live a year and a half ago or so, and it was really fucking intense and great. I've seen them live twice. And yeah, I'm just a sucker for Inquisition. Let's face it. They're pretty good at doing exactly what they do. So here's a digipack that came with it. Got an extended booklet with extra band photos and a bonus track. It's got a Typhon cover. Band Typhon. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with whatever that is. Tons of words that I'll never read in here, but these band photos are pretty good. Where are they? The snowy fucking band photos. It's been a long time since I saw a black metal band photo that I thought was as iconic as some of the earliest, black metal band photos. So kudos to you on that, Inquisition. Anyways, thanks for joining me. That is all I've got. That's it. I hope to do a video, a spin after spin, in my next video from my new car. So, yeah, sorry if I was a little groggy and kind of hazy today, but whatever. You'll deal with it just fine because you are awesome. See you later.